to this special video. It might be a one-off, who knows? We'll have to see how this does. But this video is how Slim, that being me, would book WrestleMania 37, which is, of course, next year's WrestleMania. And I know that it is September at the moment. That's not booked, and Mania's not until April. But as the reigning predictions champion at this time, which I will forever be, but just for now, I'm going to predict the match card of WrestleMania 37. And we'll have to see how close I get as we get to WrestleMania. So, we will start off on the pre-show. I'm thinking that it's going to be back to being a long-ass show again. So on the pre-show, we're going to start off with the Women's Battle Royal. This has everybody that you can't get on the card. And it's got, a few NXT UK guys, a few NXT guys, whatever. Right, it's got all of them, and I would have Bianca Belair win it. I'd have Bianca Belair win it, just because it's something that you just tick off the sort of, achievements list. So WWE thinks it's a big thing. It's not, but, if they think it is, then they can go, right, that's ticked off, that's done. So Bianca Belair, she could then get pushed out of that as well, and maybe go on to win title. Don't know. Quite possibly, that would actually be pretty good. I could probably book that. But, yeah. So, I'd have Bianca Belair win. Also, Vince McMahon is apparently very, very high on her and thinks she can be a singles star. So, give her the win. We can start booking her to the moon from here. Then, we would have the 24/7 championship match between R-Truth, who is the champion, and Akira Tozawa. I would have R-Truth win. Obviously, I just put this match on there because I sort of needed an extra match. And it gets a 24/7 championship on the show. We could also have 24/7 segments throughout the show as well. But as a match, R-Truth beats Tozawa on the pre-show. Sets everything up fine. That's right. Then we get the women's tag title match, and it's the Riot Squad defending against Natalya and Lana. I would have the Riot Squad as champions by then, just because, well, they've beaten the Iconics. Ideally, I wanted the Iconics versus the Riot Squad. Iconics come in as champion, Riot Squad beat them. But as of right now, the Iconics have been made to break up and all that. So, yeah. But have the Riot Squad be champions. Now, we will get to that in the future. So, I will explain all that. It all sort of ties together. I have thought about it. They're versing Natalia and Lana because I couldn't think of any other tag teams, heel tag teams. So, that's why they're on there. Riot Squad retain because I think that the Riot Squad should retain. I don't really like Natalya that much. She just doesn't click with me. And Lana, well, she's not the best in the ring, is she? So, yeah. Anyway, the final match on the pre-show is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And I would have Keith Lee win that, just because, same as the Women's Battle Royal, tick that off the list. And, I don't know, Keith Lee could have some fun in there. You could have a bunch of, you could just have him just pouncing people out left, right and centre. Pounce a whole bunch of people out at the beginning, that'd be cool. So Keith Lee wins that. Moving on to the main show, and I had a little bit of a... I just couldn't quite work it out. I had a little bit of trouble working out what matches should go where, and who's in them. Now, here's sort of what I've come up with. We kicked the main show off with the IC Championship. Braun Strowman's the champion because I had forgotten to put him on the card, and then I thought, well, he can be champion going into it. We could book him to be there. And he is defending against Big E, Matt Riddle, AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, or King Corbin, whatever, Jeff Hardy, Sami Zayn, and Daniel Bryan. It's an 8-man ladder match. Um, I also forgot to put Bryan on the card, so I thought I better put him in. I did originally have Jeff Hardy as the champion, but I don't know, I thought that Braun could win it, and I also sat there going, I really want Zayn in the match, but I couldn't work it out, and then I thought, I don't have Bryan in the match, so make it an 8-man. I would have Big E win this, just because, well, they're pushing Big E. If he can win this belt at WrestleMania, it's sort of a big deal, and we would have Big E hold it for a while, and especially if you have him beaten Braun, like a rivalry with Braun coming out of it, have him win, that could be very big for Big E. Possibly main event, in the future. Put him in the main event. So after that, we've just had a ladder match, so we're just going to have a plain old singles match. Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross. Alexa Bliss wins. Here is some story, right? And this links into the women's tag title match. So I would have, around sort of now-ish, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are sort of, well, Bliss is enamoured with the Fiend. Nikki's sort of like, I don't like the Fiend. And Bliss is like, well, piss off then. So I would have the Fiend, at the request of Alexa Bliss, attack Nikki Cross, and that sends her back to sanity Nikki Cross. So she's super crazy. Not super crazy, but super crazy. And we would have them take the titles off Nia and Shayna. Sort of Survivor Series-ish. And then I would go at Rumble, have them retain, so they've retained all the way up to Rumble. Then at Elimination Chamber, have them lose to Riot Squad. Have them, right, now if they're doing Fastlane next year, which I'm not sure if they will or not, if not, it'll have to be on a random Raw or Smackdown, either one. But have a rematch, and have Nikki lose the rematch. She lost the titles, and now she's lost the rematch. When they lost the titles, the Fiend attacked Nikki again, and she sort of went back to sort of being cautious of the Fiend, but she was still teaming with Alexa and all that. So then, after this second attack by the Fiend for losing again, I would have Nikki try to get Alexa out of the trance that she's in with the Fiend, and Alexa just sort of turns around, DDTs her, and that friendship is over. And then we have the rivalry from Fastlane-ish, or the Smackdown after Fastlane, to WrestleMania. And in this match, I would have Alexa Bliss win, because she is still caught up with the Fiend, so it makes sense. Moving on to the Smackdown Tag Team Championship match. And now, this is a very big if. I would have Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods walk in as champions, and verse the Usos and Heavy Machinery. Just because, a triple threat tag title match could be really good. We were meant to get one this year, but that didn't happen. So it got changed to just triple threat matches. I know I don't have Miz and Morrison on this card, but they're in the Battle Royal. I thought about putting them on the card, but then I thought, they could just be in the Battle Royal. It's fun. I would have New Day retain the titles too. So now we've got all three members of the New Day as champions, and that's cool. So, yeah, then we'll move on to the next match, which is Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler. I know that sort of the rivalry is now, but we could have them coexist until they lose the belts to Nikki and Alexa, and then they sort of have to fight together to beat someone. I don't know, I didn't think about that, but So around Survivor Series we're at. So they can sort of half feud, but they've got respect for each other, and so they don't actually feud until WrestleMania. And I would have Shayna Baszler beat Nia Jax just because Baszler's better than Nia, and you can push Baszler. Well, actually, I have thought about this, so you can push Baszler after this. Now, we will get to that later, but we get the Raw Tag Title match between champions Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus Street Profits. And this is Rey's retirement match, so the Street Profits win because it's Rey's retirement match. Yeah, but they just have a match somewhere in between now and Mania, and they win the tag belts, and they're facing Profits, who won a number one contenders match against the Viking Raiders and what other tag teams there are, and yeah. And then you can just have Rey's retirement match put on there because somebody says that it's time for Rey to retire. I don't know. Or Rey sort of... That could be it. Dominic sort of had to convince Rey to not retire again, and Rey says, well, when we lose these belts, I retire. And obviously, they lose the belts to the Street Profits, so Rey retires. Then we get the United States Championship match, and I would have it be Bobby Lashley walking in as champion with the Hurt Business versus Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Apollo Crews. Just because we don't want Crews to be sort of forgotten about. And you can always sort of bring it back to like, oh, they had a rivalry, 6 months ago or whatever. And you can set them up like that. I'd have Drew in there, and I'd have Rollins in there just because we need them on the card. And Drew would win the US title. Just because, why not? Drew can win the US title. It'll be a really good match. So, yeah. Moving on to the Smackdown Women's Championship match between Bayley defending against Sasha Banks. I would have Sasha Banks win the Royal Rumble to set this up, and this is already starting to happen anyway, but at the Rumble, Sasha wins. I would then have her say that she's not choosing until after Elimination Chamber, and at Elimination Chamber we would have Asuka retain her women's title and Bayley retain hers. And so then she says, well, at Fastlane, I'll pick after that. And again, Asuka and Bayley. And while we're coming up through all this, Bayley just keeps sort of pissing Sasha off by putting her in, like, throwing her under the bus, essentially. Like, just... Bayley, Sasha's getting a lot, really annoyed at this. So eventually, she just... it looks like she's going to challenge Asuka, and then she sort of attacks Bayley and says, I challenge you. Or even better, if she sort of went, I'm going to challenge, and sort of Bayley realises she's not going to pick Asuka because she just keeps losing to Asuka. And Bayley attacks her and forces her to pick her. That could be better. And so then I would have Sasha Banks beat Bayley because then she's won all the titles. Except for the NXT UK title, because everybody keeps forgetting about that belt. But after that, I would have the WWE Championship match between Randy Orton and Edge. Orton walks in as champion. It's an I Quit match. And I would have Edge win. That whole thing is because, well, it's reported that Edge versus Orton for the title. I Quit match. So that's why I put that one there. Edge wins because you can't have Edge come back, do 4 matches or whatever, get injured and everything, and then, quit. So Orton needs to win that. Edge needs to win that. Orton can lose. And then they can just bring Orton back later anyway. After that, I would have Otis cash in his Money in the Bank, because we still haven't had Otis cashing in Money in the Bank yet. And so after that I Quit match, right, Edge is buggered, so I'll just have Edge win and then sort of collapse. And Otis comes out to cash in Money in the Bank, does it, and wins the WWE Championship off Edge. And then I would have Paul Heyman come out and say that Vince has ordered Otis to defend his WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar destroys him. I would love to see Brock Lesnar try to hit a German suplex on Otis, but can't get his arms around him. And I'd also love to see him try and get him up for an F5, but he just can't sort of hook him. And so then he just sort of has to win by submission with a Kimura. That come around because I realised I didn't have Lesnar on the card. So yeah, but that all makes sense anyway. So Otis becomes WWE Champion and loses it straight away to Brock Lesnar. Then we get the Raw Women's Title match. Now, I would have Asuka walk in as champion, and she is versing Charlotte. Okay. So, we've sort of discussed the whole getting Asuka to here. Obviously, Sasha won the thingo. We just have Asuka keep winning. And yeah, she's versing Charlotte because Charlotte broke her streak at WrestleMania 34. And she's, we could have another singles match. And this time, Asuka wins and retains. And then we can have Asuka versus Baszler onwards. That would be cool. Have that end at Money in the Bank or something, whatever. And then we would go to the main event, and it's Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman defending the Universal Championship against The Fiend. The Fiend won the Royal Rumble to set this up. I have somewhat in my head booked the Royal Rumble as well, so I might do another one of these detailing the Rumble matches. But I would have Fiend come out at number 1. I thought that I should have Sasha come out at number 1 and win as well. But I thought, no, he can have her come out around about 20-ish and still win. And it wouldn't take away from Sasha winning, and that wouldn't take away from The Fiend winning. But The Fiend eliminates everyone, so The Fiend holds the record and it can't be beaten. So The Fiend won the Rumble to set this up, and obviously he wins the Rumble and just attacks Roman on the next Smackdown or something. He's challenging Roman. I would have The Fiend win this as well. And then, right, now I did set this up in the Rumble. So, around about entrant number 20, well, hang on. The Rumble I'd sort of booked a lot like this year's Rumble with Brock Lesnar, where he just sort of gets rid of a whole bunch of people, then a fair few of his nemesis come in, and then they sort of put up a bit of a fight, but he still gets rid of them. And I would have the exact same elimination style happen here, where Ricochet and Drew McIntyre are like 28 and 29 or something like that. The Fiend has just gotten rid of, I don't know, somebody, whoever. And McIntyre's obviously 28. So he puts up a fight against The Fiend because we need him in for 29. They then fight The Fiend for a little bit, not long enough for Entrant 30 to come out, but just a bit. And we would have Ricochet low blow The Fiend, and McIntyre hit the Claymore to send him over the top rope. And as that happens, lights go out. And then when they come back on, The Fiend is suspended sort of above the ring with a harness and everything, but it looks like he's floating and not been eliminated. Then the countdown clock would come on, and so you get to 1, and entrant 30 comes out, and it's The Undertaker. So when the lights go out, and the dong and everything, that's how you get The Fiend back in the ring. And you would have The Fiend and Undertaker be the last 2, and you would have The Fiend just sort of get rid of The Undertaker with, relative ease sort of thing. Like Undertaker goes for a choke slam or something, he sort of jumps off the back, Sister Abigail tosses him out of the ring, whatever. So then, after The Fiend wins the Universal Championship, I would have The Undertaker come out and challenge The Fiend to a Universal Championship match. And Taker says that if The Fiend can beat him, he'll retire. Right, I know that he's retired now, but this would be somewhat fitting. It'd be a passing of the torch to The Fiend. The Fiend is dark and spooky, like the Dead Man. The Fiend could benefit a lot from it. Taker's retired at WrestleMania, and I know that it's not a match befitting of The Undertaker, but it just makes a lot more sense, given that he's so old and everything. So you would have The Fiend squash The Undertaker. Like, sort of try and have Taker go for something and just Uranagi, and then as Taker sits up, Fiend just does the whole neck snap thing. Sister Abigail, and as Undertaker's going to get put in the mandible claw, have him sort of power out of that with a choke slam sort of thing. And as he's going for the choke slam, the Fiend knocks the arm off, mandible claw, down to the ground, 1, 2, 3, the Fiend is retained and retired the Undertaker. I think that would be a really good card, a really entertaining show all over, provided everybody had good matches and everything. Yeah, I think really, really good. I would definitely pay to watch that if that's what they were booking. Obviously, you're not going to know about Taker. You're not going to know about Ray retiring, but that's always a possibility. We've established that, so people are going to tune in to see if Ray retires. You're not going to know about Otis cashing in. You're not going to know about Brock coming to take the title. So, other than that, right, there's 4 things there, sort of. One of them being Ray. But there's 4 things there that you're not really going to know about going in, but they're welcome surprises, I would say. But for WrestleMania 37, that's how I would book it. Tell me in the comments below how you would book it and what you think of my booking. Let me know if you want to see me book the Rumbles properly, book the Rumble show, book Survivor Series, book whatever. Let me know what you want to see me book. If you want to see me book anything else. If you didn't like this video, tell me that too, and I won't do it again. But yeah, other than that, like and share the video if you liked it. I don't know if you will or not. But if you did, liking and sharing will help the channel. Subscribe to the channel. You can hit the notification bell if you want. I don't really care if you do or not, but it's giving you notifications when I post. So maybe that would be a good thing. But other than that, thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night.